Take all your dollars, bury them in your garden. Watch the food come up, just trying to catch the sky. Gather up your harvest, carry it off to market. We'll all rejoice in the fruits of life. Ain't that nice?
Howdy, Happi folk. It's Gabby, and welcome back to the Happi Home Workshop web series. In this video, we're going to be learning about how to feel more at home on the land, and we are blessed to be joined by Andrew Beasley Baird. Born and raised in California, Andrew has been on a lifelong journey of discovering right relation to land as self. He's passionate about bridging the inner and outer landscape and rediscovering the original instructions of human design through observing ecological restoration. Andrew is a crew lead at First Rain Land Stewardship Services based in Nevada City, California. They engage in ecological fuels reduction through prescribed fire and goat grazing. Andrew is also the founder of Future Pasture Sovereignty Services, a land-based consultancy that seeks to empower and educate the local community to take steps in creating fire-safe and ecologically resilient homes. Without further ado, our friend, Andrew.
Hello. My name is Andrew Beasley Baird, and welcome to my home. I had the opportunity to grow up in Los Angeles, California, in the middle of the west side of a very large city. And during that time, I was blessed with a father and parents that were very inclined to take us out into the wildlands around LA and throughout California, where I had the immense privilege to be able to interact with the wildlands throughout the Sierra Nevada, through the coast of California, into the Mojave Desert. When I was 14, I had the misfortune of losing my father, and after that happened and my world was kind of turned inside out, I spent much more time at the ocean and seeking home and companionship from the ocean in the form of surfing or body surfing, or even just going there and just being there. And it was through developing relationships to the pelicans and the seals and the dolphins that I began to really feel that appreciation and that care, and how good I would feel when I would leave the beach to go back into my life. And those relationships to those creatures, to the shells on the beach, and to the early morning wind that would blow off the ocean, that I really began to feel in deeper connectedness to land that would give me a sensation of belonging. And after spending many years alone in different environments, always finding myself that to be alone does not necessarily mean to be lonely, because of the creatures and the ecologies that we find ourselves in are always full of other beings that we can relate to. You know, the earth is 70% water, and our human bodies are also about the same constitution, about 70% water. And so really we're really no different. We're also just moving bodies of water. And everywhere we go, there's, you know, we're attracted to these habitable places where water is in motion and staying fresh and feeding the land and feeding the streams. And so that's the common element. And to make our home on the land is to really start with the water. And it doesn't need to be at a wild river. It doesn't need to be at a wild coastline. This can be, you know, coming from Los Angeles in the urban setting. So many of those plants there still had a lot of meaning for me, and still were always, even if I didn't even know who they were, just knowing that tree is still here, alive, holding it down, being a part of the environment. The tarweed and the telegraph weed, if you're in the city, that are growing in the pavement, growing up, sprouting between the sidewalks and still showing their flowers, you know. And so by visiting and checking in and being intentionful about in the places that you're going, and really treating it as a visiting with friends, you know, catching up with a dear one, as opposed to just being concerned around your experience someplace, but knowing that the place that you're visiting is also experiencing you. and just allowing yourself a moment of conscious recognition of that relationship actually then begins to build a relationship that gets more rich through time. The way I've been taught, and it's my belief that, you know, the natural world really beloves us and really cares for human beings, and that we have a very special role to play inside of the well-being and the maintaining, being able to maintain the lifeway of this earth. We're needed. You know, if the willow is needed to hold stream banks together, if salmon are needed to keep rivers healthy, to keep our forests healthy, humans are needed, but for what? And that's a question that I feel like has really been on the minds of so many of us for so long now, of like, why are we here? And especially seeing how negative of an impact we've had in recent living memory, in all the ways that we can imagine. Why are we here? Is that why we're here, is to do those kind of things? And I look towards you know, traditional indigenous cultures all over the world, and I want to encourage everyone watching this to look into these kinds of things yourself, and by no means take my word as the whole story. But from what I've experienced, what I've been taught, and what I've learned is that, you know, we are the custodial species on this planet, and that we are the ones who, are here to take care and maintain so many of the ecologies and the landscape around us, and that's what actually makes us belong. And our belonging is our capacity to show care. What gives us access to that belonging, what gives us a home here, is our capacity to understand the other. Whether that's our friend, our family, a river, a tree, a mountain, a beach. Our capacity to identify and empathize and show care is what's really unique and what humans are really tasked with. The earth isn't complete without humans. That the ecology, the landscape, the rivers, the well-being of the planet isn't complete without us. And the earth desperately needs us as caretakers, as stewards, as custodians, as just sheer admirers, as beauty makers, as creators, as artists, to show that appreciation and reflect that beauty back into the world, and as interpretation and as witnessing of the absolute miracle that it is that this earth exists. We're the ones that get to really experience that, get to witness that. So when you treat the land well, you treat the water well, it comes back. And you can rest in that. You can trust in that. Even if it's your tap water coming out of the sink, like, that's still holy. That's still good stuff. That's going to keep you alive, and that's still worthy of recognizing. It's still worthy of appreciating. And all these creatures and all these landforms and everything, as far as I can tell, is, you know, are longing for that connection and longing for that relationship again, wherever you can find it, you know. Because it's in the disconnection of that relationship that we find ourselves in these dire times. And so wherever you find those relationships, you know, they're meaningful and they'll support you. So one of the things that I also really, you know, needs to be stated about California black oak and a lot of the species in California is that they're generally all fire adapted. They're adapted to low intensity fire that isn't burning all the way through the crown, that isn't going to be burning at such high temperatures that it will kill the tree. And largely that's because it's been growing and developing and being exposed to and being in relation to the people for thousands and thousands and thousands, I mean forever, as far as we can tell. And so these species, even the form and the way they represent themselves and how they carry themselves and, you know, propagate their little ones, the relationship and the mark of their relationship to the original peoples of this land are indelible. They're baked into the being themselves from the get-go. And so to remember these plants and to build relationship is also going to be building relationship with the legacy and the relationship that they had with their original people. And so by coming to understand that and having some curiosity around who those people were and how they lived and what territory of theirs that you might find yourself in, you're getting a deeper understanding and hopefully a deeper appreciation for the landscape that you are calling home. And that's another level where these ideas of language groups and native people aren't just something stuck in history. They're still alive, and these people are still active. And that's another level of what you can do for yourself to come into deeper relationship with the land, is discover what is still happening. How is this still a very current issue? How is the colonial story of California still a very real thing? And doing that diligence is going to bring you closer to these plants, going to bring you closer to yourself in relationship to the land by just understanding the deeper implications of all of these creatures and how they got here. So one of the ways that I find being really helpful for making the land a home is, as we're talking about all these things, as the land as a conscious entity, an animate being, it's not that much of a stretch of an imagination. All of these creatures are alive and can be impacted by our actions or inaction. And so if we're going to take that idea literally, we can say that these creatures as a whole, this ecology that we live in, this land, is very much aware and very much sensitive to the things that go on around it. Maybe in your neighborhood you have a tree that really catches your eye. It's a beautiful tree, or maybe it's just a spot along a river or near a creek or a hilltop bench. Find those places and sit with them. Sit with them long enough with the intention of ask yourself, how do you want to be loved? How would you like to be fed? And if you sit with that question, answers will start to come to you. And it may be subtle, it may even seem maybe trite, or might push your edge a little bit of your edge of belief. And that's okay. That's okay. This is just a practice between you and the land, and give yourself permission to stretch a little bit. And this practice will allow you to begin personalizing this relationship to that place. And when you make these offerings, maybe it's just a little pinch of tobacco, or maybe it's some hair from your hairbrush, or food from your lunch, or anything that has any meaning or importance to you at all. Go ahead and leave that, and maybe you feel called to say a couple words, giving thanks, giving praise, naming your insecurity, whatever it may be. The land is very much going to appreciate any sort of intentional outreach. So when we say, we talk about sit with the tree, listen, what do we mean by that? How do you listen to a tree? How do you listen to the water that's running through the creek? What is this capacity that we speak of? And on one level, we are speaking literally. Use your senses, use your ears, use your bodies, use your smell, use all your senses in your body. But the other side of it too is also a bit metaphoric. Listen, as in still your mind. Yeah, these entities, these beings, the oak tree, the hillside, the vista, these are old, ancient phenomenon. And that's going to require us accessing that old, ancient part of ourselves that is still part of us, the ancestral part of us that have been sitting underneath oak trees and walking through meadows forever. This is what makes us human, is being able to listen in to what do these slower creatures desire. And it's going to come in a feeling, maybe a fleeting moment, maybe a dream. But trust yourself. This is something that's ancestral. Give it the heart test. The heart is the original barometer for understanding the truth. If your heart feels good, if your heart feels right, in the things that you're experiencing, then that's worthy of sitting with a little longer and considering a little more deeply. Because your heart knows the capacity of love is where the vibration of truth really lives. You don't need to understand it right now. It doesn't need to show you something that's going to totally revolutionize your life. This is a slow, long practice. If we're longing for this reconnection to the land, it's going to take time. And keep going back. You know, if you're going to establish a relationship, that tree is going to get kind of attached to you. That vista is going to start liking it when you come around, especially if you're bringing by things that it really likes, you know, and you'll feel it. You'll feel it. The land's a reflection of you. And so you can trust that good feeling that comes to you, to know that that's a reflection of that good feeling in the land. Be aware of the fact that you're now courting this, and see how your reality might shift, or you might experience a streak of luck or a teaching. Something might happen, and if it does, don't hesitate to curiously look into if that is a response from the land. And so give yourself that gift and trust yourself. It's going to bring up quite a bit. It might even be super challenging. You might think it's total, you know, fairy tale magic at times, or however you might feel about it. But I believe if you're interested in making a home on the land, this is a great way to do it. Go outside, meet your neighbors. So I'm really grateful that you spent some time joining me here and talking about these kinds of things. And you know, just something to take home about all this is just remember that you belong here on the land. You're born here, you're growing here, and as much as everything else on the land is. And so because of that, you belong. And so with that, I want to just give you a blessing from me to you and for all your relatives out there. And just I want to bless you with the open mind and open heart and the curiosity to trust yourself, leaning into the connections that are inspiring you around you. And may those connections bring you into closer relationship with the land and bring you a sense of belonging and home on the land. And so if you're at all curious about learning more or want to get in touch, you can go to futurepasturesservices.com, and there you'll find the consultation business that I run, where we teach people on how to make home on the land, and how to begin restoring right relationship with the land bases around them. I'd love to hear from you, so thank you so much for tuning in, and hope you have a really beautiful life. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this Happy Home Workshop. I hope it's got you feeling the courage to go outside and connect with your human and non-human neighbors. If you'd like to deepen your learning, Andrew has curated a list of resources below this video. And as always, thank you for your valuable attention, and I hope you have a happy day.
We'll all rejoice in the fruits of life. Ain't that nice? Hard work, long days, dirt hands make for clean ways. You won't waste another day in your garden